We're back. 3 topics to discuss today, all kind of centered around the same theme. They're going to be, first topic, we'll talk about backyard breaks and all their scams, scandals, and transgressions in the hobby. That's right, there's a few that I haven't talked about that might be their worst, or certainly worse than the Trevor Lawrence scandal that most of us know about. Secondly, I'll talk about their break last night of 2012-2013 Prism basketball case that they did with Fanatics trading card visionary Josh Luber. I'll talk about how just breaks like this in general are very boring. And then I'll also get into Josh Luber himself and why he's just, frankly, not that impressive. But first, let's run down the sports card criminal rap sheet for backyard breaks. They bursted onto the scene when they robbed their Twitch stream of a gold serial number to 10 Trevor Lawrence rookie card that they were supposed to give away. They've also been accused of opening sports card product early, a no-no in the sports card world. There's a very compelling video floating around that has over 20,000 views of them rigging spots in their own group breaks. And there's also a Twitter thread that I'll link to in the video description showing kind of the main guy in backyard breaks doing some highly offensive stuff. Well, backyard breaks was back in the news the other day, opening a case of 2012-2013 Prism basketball, the first year of Prism basketball, with Fanatic CEO, visionary, whatever you want to call him, Josh Luber. And to give you kind of a rundown of how the case went, since some of you guys might be interested in that, it looked like spots were selling for about $4,500 each. Backyard breaks had a few spots themselves. The only 2 cards that would have paid for those particular spots was a gold serial number to 10 Scottie Pippen and a Kobe Bryant on-card autograph. So 2 out of the 30 spots might have paid for the $4,500. Everything else was just an absolute complete wash. As a side note, this product, Panini actually couldn't even sell this product back in the day. They sent me and my brother a box, and I promptly hit the gold Kyrie Irving rookie card serial number 2 of 10, yes, to his jersey number. So that card's not in the product. That's probably like one of the best cards actually in the entire product. So I hit that one, sold that one for many thousands of dollars many years ago. Again, that was a free box from Panini. Thanks, Panini. But all I can say about these big, huge box breaks, and we've seen, the extravaganza with Blez and Leighton, where Blez ended up with his shirt off. Well, this 3.5 hour break with backyard breaks and Josh Luber is an absolute snooze fest. These breaks are boring. Josh Luber at one point asked the guys, he was looking over, he's like, so how many people are watching? And about 1,000 people were watching, and Josh was like, okay, so how do you get that to like 50,000 people watching? And the backyard breaks, they're young guys, I don't think they can even conceptualize that. Guys, 50,000 people aren't going to watch a 3.5 hour break. People don't go to baseball games anymore because they're too long and boring. Watching you guys on camera, all 7 or 8 of you guys, just flip through these cards for hours at a time. And 3.5 hours was probably actually pretty quick. Some of you guys stream for hours at a time. That's boring. And aside from your loyal fanboys or people who are actually watching to win a giveaway or get something free from you, those are the only people that are going to stay engaged or stay watching or stay involved. The casual card collector, the investor, the sophisticated people some of you guys are after, they're not going to watch a 3.5 hour break with guys that look like they're from some kind of college frat room. So not only are these breaks a bad value from a buy-in perspective, it's $4,500 a spot and 2 people might have sniffed their money back on this thing. It's also a bad value from an entertainment perspective. 3.5 hours, and it's just unless you were bought in for $4,500, these things are an absolute snooze fest. So group breaking is going to have to evolve, in my opinion, from an entertainment perspective, if it's going to want to remain relevant. Otherwise, something else will happen that will gather people's attention or money, and group breakers will kind of fall by the wayside like some hobby shops have, and maybe some other trends that you saw in the 80s and 90s in sports cards. And last thing I want to talk about is Josh Luber, the Fanatics trading card leader, runner, whatever you want to call him. Are we sure that he's that impressive a person? He did answer on the live stream why he decided to come and break cards with Backyard Breaks. He said simply because they were the first people to ever ask him. So I kind of was thinking to myself, well, who else should ask Josh Luber to break cards with him? I wrote down a little list. How about Card Kahuna? Maybe Josh Luber could break cards with Card Kahuna next. How about Mealy Pops? Maybe they could all three do a group break together. How about Will Jamett of Heroes of Sport? Perhaps resurrect his image there with a break with Luber. And how about, this is kind of dipping back in the past, how about Bill Mastro? Maybe he could, come back to the auction world with a seat with Josh Luber. But again, I'm kind of wondering here, like, what's so impressive with Josh Luber? He seems to only know about modern basketball. He seems to only think that basketball's cards kind of started in the last few years, either with Luka Doncic or with this Prism set. He says F1 is boring, by the way. He admitted that on the stream. He doesn't seem that familiar with breaks. Again, he doesn't get involved with them. He says he hasn't watched a lot of them. He was kind of asking questions about how things worked, that if you've ever watched a group break for any length of time, you would know how they would work. And then lastly, I want to say about Josh Luber is what's very impressive about him in his life. You've been told StockX is impressive, but I bet most of you out there haven't actually used it. So Luber isn't a very impressive person. You're probably being told by group breakers and hobby shops who are looking for a handout from him that he is an impressive guy. He's a visionary guy. He's the man, the myth, the legend, or whatever he's being called. But this guy hasn't done anything. He's introduced Gary V cards. He's introduced Jackass cards that were all bought by group breakers. And I'm supposed to sit here and be impressed by this visionary? By this guy who sold sneakers for most of his life and doesn't know anything about sports cards outside of Prism and Luka Doncic? Anyways, drop some comments about why I should be impressed with Josh Luber or anybody else over there at Fanatics. I'll wait. See you guys later.